G'day guys, my name is Wildkard, welcome back. Thank you for following my stupid content, I really do appreciate it. Super Rugby Round 3 last game of the week, Brumbies taking on the Waratahs. At home, GIO Stadium. This is a tough game for the Waratahs, being away, being a bit of wet conditions, and also that the Brumbies is currently basically the favourite in the Aussie side, coming off the terrible season last year and being dominated by the Brumbies. The Waratahs had a lot of work to do, and they did really step up this game quite a lot compared to the performance from last year. In fact, I do feel like they improved as well from last week's performance against the Reds. So what was the difference between the 7 points between the two teams, you ask? The Brumbies 4-pack. Yeah, there was the Brumbies 4-pack were able to really disrupt the flow of momentum a lot for the Waratahs at the breakdowns, in the scrummaging, and the lineouts as well has always been a threat for the Brumbies, and also being able to disrupt the Waratahs lineouts, stifle some of their attempts. I do have to admit the Waratahs lineout, like more defense, significantly improved from they were last year. In fact, the Waratahs actually built a nice more for themselves as well. So huge improvement in those set pieces from their last year's performance, and you really show there has been a lot of work being done in that area. But overall, the Brumbies forwards still just a little bit better. You can tell the veteran experience come into play with Jem Slipper after the first scrum. The first scrum went down, right? Brumbies already has a penalty. Jem Slipper, the loose head prop, the loose head prop for the Brumbies, has a chat with the referee, pointing out the Waratahs were boring in on him. So the referee's like, yeah, I've already given the penalty for collapsing. And Slipper just made an additional effort to tell the referee that the Waratahs were coming in on an angle, which it did look like that's something the Tahs were doing. Like, I'm not even sure, to be honest, that the way the Waratahs group together in the scrum is even legal. Pretty sure the props and the hooker had their shoulder tucked behind the two props had their shoulders tucked behind the hooker, so they set up the scrum already kind of in this sort of position, right? Like if you imagine if I'm the loose head prop here with my shoulder tucked behind the hooker, before the engagement I'm already at an angle. That looked like what the Waratahs were doing. Go back and watch the replay if you have it, and I'm pretty sure that's already a penalty there. So maybe that's so yeah, definitely something to do with having a chat with the referee, Jem Slipper. Nic Berry has been pretty hard on the Waratahs scrum for the pretty much most of the game. And also the breakdown was really, really messy for the Waratahs. The Brumbies were able to do a lot of work, the breakdown, turning the ball over. Even at times when the ball don't get turned over, the ball seems to just get like kicked out of the ruck, ripped out of the ruck quite a few times in this game. And essentially the forwards did a lot of work for the Brumbies to set the platform to win the game overall. Despite the territory that Waratahs had, the Brumbies defense was exceptionally well, especially in the second half. There were periods where the Waratahs really had some opportunities and they just really kind of like stifled it with the at the breakdown essentially. So let's have a look at the work of the Waratahs. I think one of the two standout players for me, Isaiah Peresi, was very good. Every time he got the ball, he looked like threatening every time he got the ball. And the issue is nobody's there to support him to, if he does make a half break, to make a take over the advantage line. He seems to be the only person who's consistently getting over the advantage line, and no one's there to linking out with him. Second person that was doing really well was Donaldson as well. He's able to find a lot of space, able to break over the advantage line by himself multiple times, and nobody followed up. It's almost like nobody was expecting this. So if Peresi can link up with Donaldson, this will be, I think, it'd be a huge step forward for the team. Donaldson did able to link up one time, and the Waratahs scored a try with Harris, right? But a lot of times he manages to find himself through the gaps, and nobody's there to link up with him. So it's something that the Waratahs can work on. So Donaldson definitely improved again from last week, but still showing a lot of, rookie errors, a lot of inexperience on the field. Like there are sometimes decisions that his positioning and his decision making just seems to be he just lacked that little bit of experience. There are times where he passes the ball to a player that's way like that's just like a way worse position than he was, and it was just not necessary. So yeah, definitely improved from last week, but still has a long way to go. Good to see Harrison back at fullback for the Waratahs, and finally the referee, the best referee in Australia, Nic Berry. His performance was, I thought, once again, there's so many little mistakes. I thought there was incorrect calls, and there was a lot of penalties that was kind of like ignored once again by Nic Berry. So this a few I thought high-ish tackles that was kind of like there wasn't really looked at, and then there was one really obvious one that even shot on the replay, and the commentators like praised it being a huge hit where Lolosio literally like shoulder charged one of the Waratahs guy in the last 20 minutes of the game, just to try to like shoulder charge him out of the sideline. It was just like a blatant shoulder charge, no arms are wrapped around, and then there was huge hit. I saw they even showed it on the replay, and the commentators were like, "Oh, that's huge hit. That should have been a penalty, not a huge hit." He didn't really try to he didn't wrap his arm at all. So that was, I thought that was like the issue with these things is sure it's entertaining for us to watch at home, but later in the year when international referees comes over, you're just gonna get yellow carded, right? And there was quite a few like tackles as well. That's just questionable. I thought could probably be yellow carded if there was, a French referee, right? You're definitely gonna get a yellow card in some of the moves. Like one of the Waratahs players literally dropping to his knees to like kind of trip the Brumbies player with his body, and yeah, like some of the stuff I'm just not sure how that's gonna go if we had an international referee, and probably gonna get yellow cards for that. So whilst yes, it's entertaining for the fans to see some of these things, but yeah, it's not really the standard for rugby these days. Anyway, so the match summary stats: run meters, Brumbies 204 to the Waratahs almost 400 run meters. There's such a huge difference there. Turnovers conceded 15 for the Brumbies, 11 for the Waratahs. Tackles 173 made of the Brumbies, 21 missed tackles. Waratahs 103 tackles, 15. I have a feeling that these tackle count might be. I have to check like another source somewhere, because I have a feeling these tackle counts are not correct. Because there was one try I remember that the Brumbies scored in the second half. What's his name? Let me have a quick look at his name. Simone. Irani Simone. He literally ran through 4 Waratahs players. That's 4 missed tackles just from the one try. How can this be 15 tackles overall? Like, that you can't tell me for the rest of the game there was only 11 missed tackles when there's one try that was literally 4 missed tackles. So I'm pretty sure there's something wrong with this missed tackle count here, especially when half time the Waratahs missed tackle count was 7. So this one try in the second half, early in the second half, would have 4 missed tackles counted. Should have been 4 mass missed tackles. So you're telling me for the entire duration of the second half, only 3 missed tackles occurred in the subsequent playing of the second half. I highly doubt that. I mean, this does not look right to me. But anyway, that's the stats. 15 missed tackles, 103. One of the tries counted for 4 missed tackles. But hey, I don't know. I don't think this is right. Conversions pretty good. A lot of Seals much better this week than last week. He missed like a lot of his kicks. Much better this week. Waratahs, Donaldson slightly better, much better, slightly better. So actually much better. So he missed like 2 or something, 50% last week or something as well. Scrums, the dominance was in the Brumbies side. They did get penalized once at the end of very end of the match, but that's overall it was a bit clearly had dominance over the Waratahs. 9 penalties conceded the Brumbies, 13 for the Waratahs. Quickly go through all the tries. So 3 tries for the Brumbies, 2 for the Waratahs. It looked like the Waratahs could have a comeback at the end to potentially draw the game to go to extra time. Jamie Roberts, the Welsh international, former Welsh international, One of the greatest Lions players ever came onto the field with the jersey number 23. Okay, so 26. So I don't know what happens with players number 23, 24, and 25. Did Jamie Roberts eat them for lunch? Don't know, but he came on the jersey number 26. Anyway, 5 minutes into the game, Valentini powers himself through the Waratahs defense for a try. So right away, the Brumbies in the front foot, attacking. Valentini gets the ball really close to the try line, powers himself through, and it's starting to look like the Waratahs, like right away, it looked like the Waratahs defense was going to be an issue. But luckily that wasn't the case. Waratahs picked up the defense and really stabilized the game. I still don't believe the tackle miscount, but it doesn't look nearly. It does look like they did pick up. They did really manage much better than the first kind of like 5 minutes or so. So on 21st, so yeah, the game stabilized. Both team kind of back and forth, small mistakes everywhere. Eventually, eventually the Brumbies gets another penalty. 12 minutes into the game, Lolasio gets this one quite easily. Brumbies up 10 points to 0, right? Waratahs continues to fight back, stabilizes position, but not able to convert that into tries. Only gets a penalty on the 21st minute, gets that on the board. About 10 minutes later, on the 32nd minute, Waratahs again putting pressure on the Brumbies, not able to breach the defense, so gets a penalty in return, takes another 3, 6 points to 10. Just before halftime, the Brumbies are added, putting on a stupid ton of pressure on the Waratahs. It's just pick and go, pick and drive, pounding the Waratahs line. Eventually, Frost picks up, crashes over for a Brumbies try. 35th minute, goes into the halftime, 17 points to 6 for the Brumbies. Like I mentioned, the Waratahs had more run meters at halftime, despite being 17 points to 6 down. 132 run meters to 158 run meters for the Waratahs. Isaiah Peresi did a lot of the work in those run meters. Unfortunately, no one was able to really breach his line for a try. So second half starts, the Waratahs gets under the pump once again. And this is like where Uriah Simone gets the ball. He literally gets the ball about just inside the 22, and he ran this beautiful angle. Imagine being like in the train tracks or near the train tracks, like on the sideline, right? He gets the ball, cut back in the field, and he ran straight through under the under the goalpost. So he just ran like this angle, goes straight through under the goalpost, and there was literally, I kid you not, 4 Waratahs players trying to tackle him along the way. That they all just gave him a high five instead, right? And just like it was pretty bad. And then on the 57th minute, finally the Waratahs gets their first try on the ball. The Waratahs, this was actually a really good set piece the Waratahs set up. Probably like, the best one I've seen since like, I don't know, 2020. Like this is something that they were not able to do last year at all. They set up a penalty, set up the line out for a maul, and the maul was perfectly set up, moving forward slowly, eventually wasn't going anywhere. Ball comes out, Donaldson gets the ball, finds himself a few short, quick runners, one off runs, gets really close, had a lot of momentum. Ball goes back to Donaldson. He finds a gap, runs through. He gets to the try line, right? He probably could. He had a Brumbies player jersey grabbed him. He probably could have reached out, but he looks back up. He had Angus Bell right behind him, pops the ball to him. Angus Bell runs over for a free try. Waratahs right back into the game. 24 points to 11. On the 63rd minute, the Waratahs are piling on pressure again. The breakdown is just letting them down. Like they look so close, literally under the goalpost, trying to get the ball through, and then loses the ball at the breakdown. And this happened for a lot of the Waratahs attack, especially during this period. Really cost the Waratahs opportunity to score tries. So on the 70th minute, the Waratahs player, like I said, one of the penalties given, he literally give him a penalty for basically drop down on his knees to trip a player. No arms tackle was called. Brumbies pulls away another 3 points, 26 points to 13. Finally, the Donaldson once again, was able to find space for the Waratahs on the 72nd minute. He basically gets the ball. He was like inside his own half, like inside his own 40. He kind of like did a bit of dummy, runs himself through a massive gap, bolts down the middle of the field. The Waratahs, the Brumbies defender swoops across the right, take him. He passes the ball to his supporter, which is Harris, and Harris runs big strides running down the sideline, dunks the ball into the end for a try, and and suddenly this game on 27 points to 20. Only 7 points behind. The Waratahs have one more chance to come in with about 5 minutes left on the clock, 5-6 minutes left on the clock before the game was finished. And then basically the Brumbies managed the game really well. Waratahs again gave away a couple of poor penalties. Final play of the game, the Brumbies had a scrum inside the Waratahs half. It looked like the Brumbies were able to get away with a penalty, but the Waratahs gets the penalty this one time and gets the ball turned over. And Waratahs has to run the ball out of their own half, and after repeatedly attacking, really good faces building. Once again, Isaiah Peresi was showing promise. What's his name? Donaldson was getting over the advantage line. No one was there to, take that momentum forward, and Waratahs were not able to get over close enough or give to the Brumbies. Even. It barely got past the Brumbies halfway point. Within this last period of play, there did look like a high shot that occurred. Nic Berry ignored it. Should have been a penalty for the Waratahs. But eventually the Waratahs player gets tackled out of bounds. Game over. Final score 27-20. So let me know your thoughts about this game. Thank you for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. I do think the referee probably is an issue. And the way that the game is played internationally is not really the standard that we're playing, the referee standard that we are seeing here in Super Rugby. So let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you next week for news and Six Nations preview. And yes, see you later, guys. Have a good weekend.